You're watching the same pattern unfold right now that destroyed Rome, bankrupted Spain, and turned Britain from the world's superpower into just another country on the map. And if you think America is somehow immune to the economic laws that have brought down every empire before it, you need to see what's happening beneath the surface right now. Let me take you back to Rome in the year 200 AD. If you were standing in the Forum, surrounded by marble temples and watching soldiers from conquered lands march past, you'd think this empire would last forever. Rome had the best military, the most advanced infrastructure, roads connecting 3 continents. Their currency, the denarius, was accepted everywhere from Britain to Egypt. They were too big to fail. But something was rotting behind those marble walls. The empire was bleeding money. Wars were expensive. The military needed pay. Citizens expected free grain and entertainment. So the emperors did what seemed obvious. They started messing with the money. The denarius used to be 95% pure silver. But slowly, year after year, they added more copper and less silver. By 260 AD, those coins were only 5% silver. They were basically printing money by debasing it. And for a while, it worked. The government paid its bills. Life went on. Until it didn't. Prices exploded. That loaf of bread that cost 1 denarius suddenly cost 50. Merchants stopped accepting Roman coins altogether. The middle class got wiped out. And here's the kicker. Rome didn't fall because barbarians were stronger. Rome fell because the money died first. The barbarians just walked through the ruins of an empire that had already destroyed itself from within. Fast forward to Spain in the 1500s. Spain had just hit the jackpot, hauling boatloads of gold and silver back from the Americas. They were the richest nation on earth, funding massive armies and building grand palaces. But all that gold flooding into Spain caused prices to skyrocket. A chicken that used to cost 1 piece of silver suddenly cost 5. Spanish workers couldn't afford to live even though their country was sitting on mountains of treasure. Meanwhile, Spain's kings kept fighting expensive wars, borrowing massive amounts from foreign banks, assuming the treasure would never stop flowing. Except it did. And Spain, literally sitting on the world's gold supply, went bankrupt 4 separate times in the 1600s. They had the wealth in their hands and still couldn't pay their debts. Now Britain. In 1900, Britain controlled a quarter of the planet. The pound sterling was the global reserve currency. If you want to do international trade, you use pounds. This gave Britain an incredible advantage. They could print money and the world would accept it because everyone needed pounds for business. But empires are expensive. After 2 world wars, Britain was broke, deeply in debt to America. The colonies wanted independence, and keeping them cost more than they were worth. The real moment of truth came in 1956 when Britain tried to flex its muscle in Egypt, and America basically told them to back off or face economic consequences. Britain, the former superpower, had to obey because they couldn't risk the pound collapsing. Within 20 years, the dollar replaced the pound as the world's reserve currency. So what's the pattern? It's actually pretty straightforward. Every empire starts by producing real value, building things, innovating. This generates wealth and funds a strong military. Their currency becomes trusted globally. Other nations hold it and use it for trade. This is a golden ticket, the reserve currency. It means you can print money and other countries will accept it because they need it for international business. It's like having a credit card with no limit, but then costs pile up. Military everywhere. Social programs, infrastructure, and governments face a choice: raise taxes and anger citizens, cut spending and anger the poor, or just print money. And they always choose to print because it's the easy way out. The consequences aren't immediate, so why not? But printing money without producing more stuff just dilutes the value of every dollar that already exists. At first, nobody notices. Then prices start creeping up. Your paycheck stays the same, but everything costs more. Other countries are watching. They've been holding your currency, trusting it. But now they see you printing like crazy and they get nervous. So they start dumping it, switching to other currencies, buying gold. And when countries stop wanting your money, you lose that superpower privilege. Now you actually have to balance your books like everyone else. But you built this massive empire, assuming you could always print more. That's when things fall apart. Now here's where it gets interesting with America. The dollar has been the world's reserve currency since World War II ended. This has given America extraordinary advantages. When the government needs money, it issues bonds and other countries line up to buy them. The national debt has grown to over $30 trillion. The interest payments alone are becoming one of the largest expenses in the budget. And when costs exceed revenue, what happens? Same thing Rome did, same thing Spain did. They print. The money supply has expanded by trillions in recent years. Meanwhile, other countries are watching closely. China and Russia have been making deals to trade in yuan instead of dollars. Saudi Arabia, which has priced oil exclusively in dollars for 50 years, is now considering other currencies. Countries are buying gold at rates not seen in decades. These are small moves individually, but together they represent something bigger. The slow erosion of confidence in the dollar's dominance. The U.S. still has enormous advantages. The most powerful military, the most innovative companies, the deepest financial markets. But so did Rome. So did Spain. So did Britain. And the thing about being the reserve currency is that it's based on trust and habit. When that trust erodes, it can happen gradually, then very suddenly. Here's what makes this scary. Most people won't notice it happening until it's already happened. When you're living through it, each year just feels slightly worse than the last. Prices are a bit higher. Things cost more. The government has more debt. None of it feels like a crisis because it's gradual. The people in Rome in 250 AD didn't think they were watching civilization fall. They were just dealing with higher prices. The Spanish in 1650 didn't think their empire was over. The British in 1950 still thought of themselves as a great power even as everything was dissolving. I'm not here to tell you America is definitely following the same path. What I'm saying is that the mechanisms that destroyed every previous empire are still present today. Governments still face the same incentives to print money when times get tough. The reserve currency still gives a dangerous ability to delay hard choices. And history shows us that nothing is permanent, not even systems that seem unshakable. Every empire thought it was different, thought it had solved the problems that brought down others, thought it was too big to fail. And every single one was wrong. The question isn't whether history's patterns still apply. The question is whether anyone's paying attention.